Ladies and gentlemen, welcome out to the Screaming Boy Podcast, episode number 23. We are here tonight, and we're excited because Halloween has passed. If you have not heard it, if you have not listened to it, we recently did our Halloween episode, and we did a little special Halloween special, and it was we did a commentary for the movie Monster Squad, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was one of my favorite Halloween movies. You don't have to wait for Halloween to watch it because it's just a good 80s, I guess you could say, preteen, teenager, adventure movie, circa the Goonies, things like that. You can watch it anytime you want. And then once you watch it, if you have not seen it, please listen to the commentary. I think it was pretty funny. We had myself, Jesse Starcher, Adam, you were there. No, you weren't there. You were gone that night.
No,
I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
I had other things, but it's cool, man. I understand.
But you had stuff going on. So it was myself. It was Jesse Starcher. We had the patriarch of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, Mark Radulich, on there. Then we also had our good friend Patrick Mullen, and good times were had by all. And I tell you what, Patrick Mullen is very smart when it comes to movies. I did not realize that he knew that much. I don't know what you're building in the background, you mad scientist, but stop it.
Playing with Legos.
No.
So with that, tonight on episode 23, speaking of preteen, teenager action adventure movies, not action movies, but adventure movies, we recently got really excited here because on October the 26th or 7th, I think it was the 27th, Netflix released what is probably in my eyes, one of the most perfect series I've ever seen. They released the second season, or they're not really calling it season; they're just calling it number 2 of Stranger Things. So tonight we're going to take a little look at that, and we're going to discuss some go over some of our favorite points and some of the finer things of Stranger Things. But before we do that, let's go to our panel of experts and ne'er-do-wells. First up, we have, you can hear him cackling and building things in the background. It is Mr. Adam Runyon. Adam, how are you doing tonight?
It is good to be back, man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I feel like I've been gone for like a year, but it hasn't been that long.
No.
And I'm so glad that I'm coming back for Stranger Things. So it's one of my favorite. I mean, it's like you said, man. It's absolutely. I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but it's like a 9.9 out of 10.
Yes.
Okay. You know what I mean?
We also have amongst our experts and ne'er-do-wells, we have an Xbox that just got turned on.
I'm waiting for the signature
I'm
click
sorry, man.
of the joysticks.
I accidentally hit it.
Amongst our experts and ne'er-do-wells, we have one, Mr. Street Level Jesse Starcher. Jesse, what's going on tonight, man?
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome back, Screaming Boy Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Man, I felt bad poking fun at you a couple weeks back about how long it had been since you'd had a podcast. But I'm glad that we are back here having a good time. And we got a great subject to talk about tonight. So
absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, as you know, we've been out for a little bit, but we are back with a vengeance. And just like the guy says, it is so good to be back, and it's so good to have a focus on our show instead of just getting on here and going, "We're going to do a podcast." And then
rednecks on a podcast.
Yeah. So it's good to have a solid subject. So. Stranger Things, season 1. When I remember when season 1 was announced and was first coming out, it was one of those things that I was like, well, this is intriguing. I wonder what this is going to be about. And then have the 80s synth soundtrack going on and everything. So it kind of got me excited about it. Now, I remember the teaser trailers and everything coming on Netflix. You guys remember that, Adam?
I do, yeah. And in fact, you're the one who said, "Hey, you need to check this out." And because I had no desire to watch it whatsoever. and I watched it, and I remember you told me, you like, you need to watch this. I ended up watching the first 3 episodes, like on a work night. It was awesome.
Crazy, isn't it? Jesse, you remember the teasers? Or I think, if I'm not mistaken, I told you about it too.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't recall getting so hyped up about the show because of seeing any type of advertisement for it. And I can't remember if this was in a time, I mean, this was only last year, but I recall seeing Netflix doing something recently where they kind of preview shows with a trailer of something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't remember seeing that at all a year ago. So I had no expectation of what this was about other than word of mouth from you guys and other people that we talked to on the internet. So I had no excitement to build up at all.
Okay.
And then we watched the show.
Yeah, right. And then it was amazing. Right. So season 1, any expectation I had, and I was kind of like you guys. There was no real expectation of what was coming and what the Duffer Brothers were going to bring, and other than just what I saw in the previews, I was like, well, this has a kind of a cool feel to it, and then all of a sudden I started noticing homage, just kind of subtle winks at all of these movies that I grew up with and shows, and then it showed the boys, Dustin, Mike, Will, and Lucas playing D&D in the basement and all this good stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, they being set in 1983. They were a little bit older than me, but I was like, man, this is just kind of like, this is my childhood,
Yeah.
Getting just a pizza and hanging out and playing D&D with my friends. So it, the soundtrack, the feel and everything, I was like, gosh, this is like the Goonies, or oh no, this is like E.T. Oh no, this is like the X-Files, which is more 90s, but still,
this is like Poltergeist.
Yeah, this is Poltergeist. And then I realized this is all of those, the feel of that wrapped into one show, which the Duffer Brothers grew up, which are the creators and directors. They directed a lot of the episodes. That's exactly what they were going for. I mean, this is what they grew up on as well. Now, they didn't wholeheartedly copy all this stuff, but they definitely, like I said, subtle and not so subtle winks to these classic 80s movies. So that's what got me completely addicted to this show. And it was like you, Adam. I think I watched 3 or 4 episodes in one night and couldn't wait to turn it back on. So it was kind of like one of those phenomenons that you find every so often. You'll find that one show that you're like, holy crap, I have to watch every episode of this ever right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And this is the first show like in a long time. There's been 2 shows since I've been married, and that's been almost 10 years. And there's been 2 shows. Stranger Things is one of them, and Homeland is the other. Those are the only 2 that I watched absolutely religiously. Every week I watched one.
What about you, Jesse? Was it kind of like that for you, or?
Oh yeah. Well, I remember when this, again, going into it not knowing much other than the praise that everybody else heaped upon it. Nobody was spoiling things left and right, which is good. That's a good friend. That's a good friend to have in a Facebook on your Facebook timeline. But
absolutely,
when you sat down there and watched these episodes, it was like I was like, okay, is this stuff going to be weird? Is it going to get crazy? I didn't know what I was in for. What I was really looking for was, how you talk about these 80s homages and the homages to those flicks and the feeling that a lot of those flicks had, and some of the tropes that a lot of 80s flicks had. You could see that and pick that apart through some of, many of the episodes. And what I loved about season 1 And I think what kept drawing me back there, as soon as, we started figuring out about the Demogorgon, things like that, I was hooked. Mm-hmm. I was clearly hooked. But they took things where, okay, I've seen this in an 80s movie. I know how this is going to go. And then they would really flip it on its head. And
absolutely.
Like, wait, they're going a totally different direction with this. Case in point, Steve. The whole Steve situation in season 1 that really took me by surprise. And they did a wonderful job of turning that on its ear and telling a great story. And I was like, oh man, this is good. And I know that happened later in the season, but they did a great job of building things up, and they didn't shove everything out there in front of you right at the beginning. They let you go, okay, what is this thing? What is this going to be? Holy crap, that kid's in a wall. Holy, what is going to, how are things going to go? To a point where, I recently, and again, this was before season 2 dropped, but my daughter started watching it. I heard it in her room. I passed by her room and I'm like, is she watching Stranger Things? And she did not, she's 12 years old. She was 11 when this came out. So I didn't feel like this was something me and my wife watched in the evening. I didn't know what we was going to get, but she started watching. I was like, oh man, she's going to love this. So I step in there. I said, you watch Stranger Things? And she binged that. And then she brought her friends over to the house and made them watch it. It was so funny.
That's incredible.
She would have 2 kids spending the night, and she'd be like, okay, we're starting Stranger Things. And she would do that. And they get through episode 3. I wake up the next morning. They're one episode away from finishing the season. My son, my 4-year-old son, or 4-year-old, excuse me, my 7-year-old son catches the last 3 episodes because his sister's watching it, and he becomes absolutely entrenched in this world that they had brought to where he watches the whole season with them. And I don't know. It's a testament to how it can grab us as adults and include. I mean, this is a story about kids and they're coming of age, I guess you would say, and it's for kids too. I mean, there's some parts of it that I would say, okay, well maybe that's not for kids, but a kid, my 7-year-old son, enjoyed it to where he watched every episode of the subsequent season with us. So we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah. It just goes to show that, like, I don't care how old you are, what generation you're in. If you're a kid, you long for those adventures that you can just jump on your bike and go with your friends to discover something new. I don't think that's changed much. There's always going to be that sense of adventure in kids. Hopefully, that's always going to be there. I love nothing more than jumping on my bike and going up the road to get into something with my friends. I grew up in a holler in West Virginia, so we knew the ins and outs of that whole, if you follow this trail, it's going to lead you to this house and things like that. And so we were always looking for something different to some different adventure to go on, hoping that we would find something interesting or fun to get into. And it was always fun. It was always cool to go out and to see if you could find buried pirate treasure in West Virginia. I don't know what we were thinking, but we were kids.
A lot of pirates down there.
Yeah, a lot of pirates in West Virginia.
Might come across a moonshine.
Right. We didn't think about that. But I remember we had it was something the Ashland Powder Company or something like that. Is what it was called, but it was basically it was this company stored their rigs from our houses and way up in the hollow that we lived in. And it was an explosives company.
Oh my gosh!
But these, of course, were not active trucks or anything. They didn't have any active explosives.
Sure.
They just parked it up there, and so we were like, "Oh my gosh, we could find dynamite!" So we would.
This makes me fear for my own son.
Right. I think I dare say your son was smarter than me and my friend, or is smarter than my friends and myself. But so it was. We were always looking for some misadventure or adventure to get into. And like I said, I don't think that is ever going to change in young kids like this. So that I think that's the appeal that it has for the younger kids, and for us. The three of us, kind of grew up in the same era. So the three of us, the appeal for us and those like us is the fact that they're going through the things that they're discovering. The Star Wars toys, the Jaws poster on the wall, all this stuff that they're going like, oh my gosh, I remember that. That's so crazy that I had the exact same poster, or I had that same Millennium Falcon toy, all that stuff. Which, if you had the same Millennium Falcon toy, you'd be a rich person right now.
I was gonna say.
I know that Jesse and I know a couple of people that have like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Which makes me sick to my stomach. But the appeal is that these kids, they could have been us, and they more than likely were us, the things that they're into, the things that they love, the things that they're that is in their room. This season, Mike and Lucas both had the original He-Man toys in their room. Because I remember Lucas's little sister sitting there making He-Man make out with Barbie.
Yeah.
And so, they're 12, 13 years old. And that was the other thing. Back then in 1983, it wasn't really anything for a 12-year-old to have a He-Man toy. But the second season happened in 1984 when He-Man was released. I hear the click, click, and this time, not me. Not me.
Adam Runyon.
I just wanted to point that out to Jesse.
What are you talking about?
I just wanted to point that out to Jesse.
What level are you on, Adam? Just tell us.
Oh, I'm not. I'm trying to turn on Stranger Things. Actually,
oh, okay.
I'm gonna have it run in the
That's
background.
a remote.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Dang.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. Okay. We don't need to hear that, but okay. Anyway, so they had the He-Man toys, they had the Star Wars toys, they had the D&D, the Jaws posters, all this stuff that's going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be these kids right now. And I want to go back to my childhood because all the stuff that they have is worth so much money. Yeah, but not because I want it, just because I want to sell it. No, but in all reality, though, I mean, who didn't want to be Mike? Who didn't want to be Dustin? Yeah, sure, they had to put up their bullies, but ultimately, they're really cool kids. For us. The other thing that you pointed out, Steve was going to be, the D-bag boyfriend.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was slated to be that guy that nobody wanted to like, but they liked the actor so much, they liked his portrayal so much that they said, no, we got to have him in more. So let's change his character. Joe Keery. Played Steve Harrington, so they changed his character around, and they gave him this redemption story in the first season, and made him actually like, no, he's not just using Nancy, he actually likes her, and he's a good guy,
right? Like
which is like is a testament to the Duffer Brothers, and how I guess flexible they are and know how to spin a good story. But they're like, listen, we're not sold on just, the stereotypical, characters. We can give these characters more depth. And let's start with Steve. What were you saying, Adam?
I was gonna say I can probably guarantee you, like I can tell you when they decided to do that, and it was kind of like the apex of that moment. It's in the first season. I think it's like the last, maybe second to last, maybe the last episode, when they're fighting the Demogorgon, and he has that bat. You remember the bat? He's like,
oh yeah,
he drives a nail through it, and he walks out in front of everybody, and he's just like, "Come on!"
Oh, that was the result of them saying,
You know?
"No, we need to make him a cooler,
right.
a cooler person."
That's what I'm saying. That was the apex of him being like,
"Oh yeah,
okay,
absolutely."
At this point, because that was the point where I saw him and I said, "Okay, he's awesome," and he reminded me of the older brother in the Goonies. That's what he reminded me of. Kind of a
Josh
douchebag
Brolin?
guy. Yeah. Only not as cool as Josh Brolin. But like,
He
that's what he reminded
absolutely
me of.
got shredded for his role as Cable. Oh my gosh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. He got ripped.
Oh.
It was ridiculous how big he is now. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like that's what he reminded me of, because he had the older brother feel, and he was kind of a jerk in the beginning, but as the movie, or as the series progressed and moved forward, like he kind of became this guy that's just like, they kind of look up to him, and they kind of, he ends up being just kind of a normal dude that is just cool, you know what I mean?
And then there's Barb. Poor Barb, bit the dust pretty early on in the series, and I don't think there has been much character development for a dead character as there has been with Barb. Justice for Barb. So minus Barb and minus Papa in the first season, which was an interesting character as well, which was, of course, Eleven's father figure, her real dad, apparently, in Matthew Modine, Dr. Brenner. But Steve and the gang, 11, Mike, Sheriff Hopper, Joyce, Will, Lucas, and Dustin all come back to us. We take a trip into Hawkins, and we come up with season 2 of Stranger Things. Season 1 left us with some questions of where 11 was after she defeated the Demogorgon, and we saw Hopper dropping off the Eggos in the woods in this little box. I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it was just a box, and he put Eggos in it. So we're like, in my eyes, I was like, oh my gosh, 11's still alive. Of course she's still alive. She has to come back for the next season. But I got so entrenched in the character of 11, I didn't want to think she was actually gone. But apparently she, as an actress, thought she was gone. She didn't know she was coming back for the second season. But we had so many things going on. Well, was Will okay after he vomited up the slug and
puke worm?
He puked out a worm, and so everything seemed okay at first, and then you realize there are actual problems in the sleepy little town of Hawkins. So things are about to get a little more strange. See what I did there? Season 2 comes out. Completely stoked about this. I couldn't wait. And actually, I had to wait. I did not get to view the first episode on the night of that it was released. I had to wait a day because the night of I had some prior engagement and got home kind of late. But it was the first episode when I jumped in, it was. Oh my gosh! Well, let's just start with I talk too much. Jesse, your thoughts on the very first of starting that first episode?
Okay, well, Dragon's Lair.
Okay? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh gosh,
yes.
Does it not seal the deal for that first? Yes. I remember watching the freaking trailer, and it was the one you shared. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" That was the game back in the day. But
yeah, man.
Now here's the bad part. Everything runs together for me, so I'm.
Oh no, yeah, you're fine. We're not really going to go in order here.
Yeah, if we go episode 1, I don't remember where it ends. Here I just pulled up my TV time. I'm going to try and figure it out. But let me just say, that Friday was a long day at work.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
And this was the show that I legitimately going through my head is I cannot wait to watch this with my family. This will be the first ever real show since probably the first 2 or 3 episodes of Flash, when the Flash dropped way back. What was that, like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I don't know what season we're on, but anyway, so Friday comes around. I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to sit down with my family and watch this. Well, my 12-year-old has access to Netflix in her own room. She's already like watching some of it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. You can stay in there. I said, Caleb, he can't watch it unless I'm watching it. So I grabbed Caleb. My wife comes home. I said, here we go, guys. Let's get this party started. So we started right there with the first episode. We're hooked. Look, first thing we noticed, production value has increased
through the roof. They put that season 1 money to work.
Yeah. And it's not just going to be where I first noticed it. Okay, yeah, we got some nice special effects. We got the big crazy thing hanging over the town, whatever. But music.
Yep.
The soundtrack. The soundtrack. Yeah, the soundtrack is taking leaps and I want to say leaps and bounds because the first one was epic, and they keep that there. Don't think that they totally changed things around and now we got an homage to a tribute to a bunch of 80s bands. No, they slipped those through the season just enough to kind of give you a feel for the time, but we still got those great 80s synths that we've been listening to. The soundtrack is still epic. But one thing I also noticed that this is the one criticism, me personally, that I had, and that was, and right out the gate, right as they're opening things up, when this is occurring. If I remember correctly, they didn't really pin down a time on season 1, like the year. Did they?
The very first episode, Hawkins, Indiana, 1983.
Okay, all right. So it felt like that I'm totally wrong because I was like, geez, why in the world are we even giving this a? Then it must have been just a footnote to me from the first season because I didn't pay attention to that. Yeah. I did not pay attention to that, and it's felt like that came up a lot throughout this season. Like, hey, it's 84. Hey, it's 84. Get ready. It's 84. But I say it's a criticism. Really, I didn't understand why they had to pin it down to that, other than I guess we're establishing that it's a year after the last season.
Right.
So,
it is almost almost exactly a year after the first one. And that's
okay.
The reason they did that was because, Eleven's been missing that long.
Yeah.
Mike has been, trying to reach her every night on his walkie-talkie. Every night he sits down underneath that tent he made her in the first season and tries and reaches out to her and talks to her. And she hears him every night for 330 some days.
Oh, that connection those two had in the long distance relationship. There's a little bit more. There's a little bit more to it than that, but
right.
But yeah, you were just, oh my goodness, she's out there. She's out there, Mike.
And his reaction to when they finally meet. We're skipping ahead to the end of the season when she finally reveals herself and saves the group or whatever. Earmuffs if you haven't. I should have given a spoiler warning. Prepare yourselves. We're going to kind of go through this and we're going to give some spoilers. So we're going to kind of go out of order. We got some talking points. But if you have not seen Stranger Things, if you have not gone through the entire season 2, please do so. Please do so, and then come back and listen to us. We don't want to give anything away. I fear that we're going to give some stuff away to poor Adam tonight, but he's used to it.
Tell me when. Just tell me when.
Starting now.
Okay.
So, spoiler alert in effect right now. And go. So, when she comes through the door, and you know, after she throws the Demogorgon through the window and everything, she, you know, and saves the group, and they see each other, and you know that connection is there when these little actors are 13 years old and they have more chemistry, you know, and more heart in their craft than a lot of adults do, which is incredible to me. But you can see that this longing was there, that they truly missed each other. And then he runs up and says, "Oh my gosh, you know, I you know, where have you been? I called you. I talked to you every night and when he says 4, she goes, "Yeah, for 330 some days or whatever it was."
She knew exactly the day.
And immediately it dawns on him, "Oh, well, you knew. Why didn't you say anything?" And then he knew that Hopper, who had been keeping her safe away from all the, you know, the bad men.
Yep.
He turns around. He's like, "You know, it was you. I'm not pissed at her. I'm not mad at anybody else. I'm mad at you because you kept her away from me." And it was one of those things where, like, I really truly felt for her, or for him, and well, for both of them. And I felt for Hopper too, because he was doing the only thing he knew to do, was to keep her safe. And, you know, he knew if she revealed herself that they would take her away from them, and especially from him, because he has pretty much adopted her at this point. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of those things where Hopper has revealed himself to be the town dad. He's a dad to 11. He's a dad in that moment to Mike. Where he just grabs Mike and he holds him and he hugs him. He says, "I know, kid, I know." And he's just, you know, comforting him, saying, "I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do." And then he's a dad to Will. You know, he's concerned for him. He's, you know, he wants nothing but the best. He wants to help him, you know, because of Joyce and their connection. And you know, it's just one of those things where it was one of the more for me, it was one of the more emotional scenes where he's mad at Hopper, but he's not really mad at Hopper. He's just mad at the whole situation because he just wants to be with 11.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, he knows that he loves her, and, you know, whether it be, you know, puppy love or friendship, or there's something deeper there. He just wants to be with her, so he doesn't understand why he can't just be with her. And then David Harbour, who plays Jim Hopper, just gives a performance that you would not believe through the whole series. You know, the season 1 and 2. He's brilliant, in my opinion. I think he does a phenomenal job in this. Who is actually David Harbour is our new Hellboy, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he is playing Hellboy in the reboot. I guess it's a reboot, or just a new Hellboy movie. So I guess he's taking over that role from why can't I remember his name?
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman. Yeah. So the new Hellboy is, you know, due out to 2018, and Mila Jovovich, David Harbour, Ian McShane, Daniel Day Kim from Lost. They're all slated. They're all in it. And apparently David Harbour got ripped as well to play. What is it with these guys? And I mean, I need to go to their personal trainer. Yeah. But anyway, so I think he'll do good. But so you've got all these connections that are happening, that have happened. You've got you know, a little familiarity, a little bit of connection, a little bit of you know, from the past, from school, with Hopper and Joyce, which is Winona Ryder, which is Mike's mom, or Will's mom, and then you've got Mike and 11, and then of course Steven and Nancy, and then we see some more connections with new characters, and that's kind of what I want to go with this. With the new season came new characters. We have a new doctor in the midst, this doctor is not such a bad guy after all. He really wants to help people, which I kind of doubted at first, but then after him, a couple of episodes, I kind of got into his character, and I was like, okay, he's just Dr. Owens, Dr. Sam Owens, played by Paul Reiser, was actually, he's a good guy. He wants to actually help the kids.
Well, it's again,
maybe, I don't know. It's one of those things like he knows what he has to do. He works for whoever, the government. Haven't quite figured out what's going on, who's doing this stuff, but you see in later episodes, he doesn't want anybody to get hurt. He's not, he's willing to sacrifice himself. Not that, anything bad happens, but he's willing to sacrifice himself to help the others. So that's kind of where I'm getting at. So my first thought when I saw, Dr. Owens was like, holy crap, that's Paul Reiser?
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him at first. I was like, wait a minute. I knew Paul Reiser was supposed to be in it, but is that him? And then he started talking. I was like, oh, that's Paul Reiser. He is either changed or doing something different for this show, or he is not aged well. I think it's all of the above. Poor Paul. But so we got Dr. Owens. We have the new kids on the block, not the band, but the new kids that have entered Hawkins from the lovely state of California. We have the Maxine Max Mayfield and the new D-bag on the block, her stepbrother, Billy Hargrove.
Oh,
yeah, we'll talk a little bit about him. And then we have a new connection between Joyce and Bob the Brain. Bob the Brain he's Bob Newby, played by Sean Astin. So I was really pleased to see Samwise show up in this. But it was one of those things where Samwise, what was his name in Goonies?
Hold on.
Ooh, what is wrong with me?
I know it wasn't Mouse.
Mikey.
Okay, there we go.
So we've got Mikey, Samwise, Bob showing up, which made me really excited when I found out that Sean Astin was going to be a part of this because of his role in the Goonies, which is just a character forming movie from my childhood, which I absolutely adore. So it was really cool to see that he was going to be a part of this, and to hear how he came to be a part of this was really funny as well. But he actually, they didn't ask him to be a part of it. He didn't go through, hey, I'm a big star, or hey, I was in these 80, was in this 80s movie. You got to put me in this. He sent in an audition tape. He just wanted to be a part of this somehow. And when they cast him as Bob, he was actually supposed to be killed off in episode 3, but they kept him around.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like full on evil possessed Will in episode 3. Who kills Bob? But
yeah, I'll tell you what. If they would have done that, I mean, I would have. I
would have got mad.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, though. It definitely would not have had the weight that it did.
No. So, but anyway, we've got Adam. I'm so sorry. I'm not watching what I'm saying. I'm hesitating because I'm sitting here going, I know he hasn't finished yet, and I don't want to give anything away, but I will say this. If you want to exit, you can. But I don't want you to, but I also don't want to give anything away. But I will tell you this, Adam. It will not ruin anything in the series for you. But I will earmuff you on certain happenings, certain fates, and things like that, okay?
He may not even be listening right now.
I don't think he's listening right now. Okay, so let's carry on.
Are you guys talking to me? Because I pulled him out of my hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. I pulled everything out of my ears. I've been in and out of the thing. So what's going on?
I'm giving you an out.
Okay.
Do you want to stick with the episodes, or do you want to stick with this episode or not?
Well, yeah, I'm stick with the episode. I'm gonna be in and out. So if you need me, just make sure I can hear you.
Okay, no problem. I don't want to.
I'll send you a message when you can safely come back.
That's fine by me, man. I'm just Snapchatting it up. I'm just kidding. I don't even have Snapchat.
Okay, I was gonna say what
in the dark.
What?
So do I need to stick here now, or do I need to?
No, we'll call you back in.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll call you back in.
All right. I know I said that.
I don't either. All right, so we can talk freely. All right. So new characters. We've got Max and her brother Billy. We've got Bob Newby, and we've got Dr. Owens. So let's start with Max and her brother. Max is sort of a mystery in episode 1. When Dustin finds out that all of his top scores have been overtaken by Mad Max, which is an awesome awesome shout out to Mad Max, which I think came out in 84 as well. 83, no. Mad Max was 70 something. I'm thinking Road Warrior. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm way off of my timeline. But Mad Max turns out to be Maxine, nicknamed Max, lovely young lady who comes into Hawkins from California with her stepbrother, who is in high school at the time. I think he's either a junior or senior in high school. And his name is Billy, and he is a giant douche.
What a jerk.
Oh, my gosh. He's abusive. He is, to Max, he's a jerk to everybody he comes across. He's your typical mullet.
King Steve. Let's see what you got, King Steve.
Yeah, he just picked Steve out because he's big man on campus in Hawkins. And it's not that he chose to be that. He was just kind of voted in, he's Steve. He's Steve Harrington. He is the man on campus that everybody wants to be. All the girls want him, and all the guys want to be him. So it's kind of like a prison mentality. You go in, you find the biggest dog, and you swing first. And that's what Billy did. And for no reason. He just went in, he found the biggest man on campus. He's like, all right, taking your spot. And we find out that he hates his stepsister. Hates her. Oh, my gosh. Jesse, tell us a little bit about this. I mean, you and I both, you were like, I think you just messaged me first. You're like, this guy, Billy. And I'm like, I know, dude. I know.
Oh,
and
man.
You're like, oh, my gosh.
I could not. I mean, I was just waiting. Please tell me what you're going to do with this guy. Here's what I was waiting for. It was either going to be another Duffer Brothers swerve with this dude.
Right.
But I was like, they're certainly not going to go that route because they did that already in season 1.
Right.
So what's going to happen with this guy? That kind of kept me on edge throughout the season. And then, man, when he showed up, oh my gosh. I mean, I was so mad. I was like, punch this guy. Somebody hit him. Somebody do something. Somebody put him in his place. So it's that 80s bully mentality that this kid had, and I just couldn't stand him. He played whoever it was, which apparently was it the Red Ranger?
He's the Red Ranger.
Okay, I don't know much about this guy at all. So apparently he is a Power Ranger.
From the new movies.
From the new movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he can play a jerk. And he did a dang good job in this show. So, yes, he does his job well, and it was fun to see him be that foil to Steve. To kind of now Steve's already kind of fell on hard times after getting his butt kicked by his best the strange kid. What's his name now? I can't remember his name. The one that's.
The one about Will's brother?
Yeah, Will's brother. I can't remember his first name now. But anyway, he got his butt kicked by him, and then I think he was knocked down a couple pegs to where he found his humility. Yeah. Steve found his humility, and then we got this guy coming in and just it was it was a good portrayal of a guy I really didn't like. And I mean, dude, I went so far as to I was making memes of this guy, putting him on the internet. I was upset.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, Jonathan Byers is his name.
Jonathan, yes. Okay.
Yeah, Charlie Heaton played him. Jonathan. So, Steve can't catch a break.
Nope.
He's having troubles with Nancy in this season, and that's coming out because she's feeling guilty about Barb, and not rightfully so. But she can't tell Barb's parents the real reason Barb's gone, and they've been sworn to secrecy or whatever. They can't tell anything that really happened. So Barb's parents are still in the blue, or not in the blue, but in the they're not in the know of what really happened to Barb. They've hired a private investigator, to which they're selling their house. They invite them over to dinner, which I absolutely love that whole scene. When Nancy and Steve are sitting there with Barb's parents, and
have some KFC.
And they're just sitting there, just chowing down on KFC. She's like, "I'm so sorry. It got to where I couldn't, forgot to cook, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh no, I love KFC." And he's just chewing on chicken the entire time. And that awkward moment where Nancy excuses herself to the bathroom, and he's like, this is finger looking good." And Barb's dad's like, "Yeah." And he's just chowing down too. So, he's having some troubles with Nancy. Everybody thinks he's losing her to Jonathan, which turns out to be true. And then you've got so many things going on. The only people that'll really hang out with him now are the kids. Poor guy. So we've got but he's, in my opinion, the character has matured. Has blossomed since last season. He's not so much, he wants to live his life. He wants to not act like it's normal, but he realizes there's not a futility in it, but there's not much they can do about it. So hey, let's just live life right now. We can mourn, we can grieve, but we have to go on. And Nancy can't accept that because she feels guilt towards losing Barb.
Yeah, and she knows what happened,
right?
And you want to tell somebody,
yeah.
And how do you go about telling somebody, especially somebody's parents? Oh yeah, she kind of died from an extra dimensional monster.
Right?
Not going to work.
And then, so Nancy is not feeling it anymore with poor Steve, and she ends up hooking up with Jonathan, and they get together. But Steve, he matures in the fact that he finds himself as a protector for the party, as they call themselves. Mm-hmm. So he sees himself as I don't know if he sees himself, but we see him taking this big brother role on for Lucas and for Dustin and for Mike and Will of, okay, and Nancy asked me to take care of you. I want to keep you safe. I'm keeping you safe no matter what. So he's going to jump in front of an extra-dimensional monster, interdimensional monster or whatever he has to do to keep these kids safe. He grabs his bat with the nails in it, and he starts swinging for the fences. And it's like one of those guys like, all right, he's a really good guy. And it's kind of sucks to see him take so much on the chin. I mean,
that's the truth.
So, I love that character of Steve. So, he and Billy, of course, Billy is his foil, is his arch nemesis in this. And then we see them come to blows later on, and it is violent and vicious. I mean, you could see what kind of, person that Billy really is. He's a tortured, violent, mean soul, because he is abused by his father, smacked around and belittled by his father. Max's mother is his stepmother. So so you've got Max working her way into the group, and they form a little love triangle. A little love triangle between Dustin
reminiscent
and
of season 1 too.
Yeah. A little love triangle between who in season 1?
Well, I think some of the boys were after 11. Now, granted, Mike clearly was, the mainstay of 11's heart, but I think some of the other boys, didn't they have crushes on her too?
Well, I think it was one of those things where, like, yeah, they did, but
I can't remember if that was pushed. I can't remember if that was.
I don't think it was pushed too far. Yeah,
it's definitely not like what we got in season 2 here.
Right.
Between Dustin and Lucas for Max.
Yeah, that was fun to watch.
Yes,
I mean, I'm a big Gatton. How do you say his last name? Gatton Matarazzo. Is Dustin's. Is the actor's name.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of this kid. This kid is he was actually legitimately diagnosed with the condition that his character has. It's cleidocranial dysplasia, and it's a rare genetic disorder that he's born without collarbones.
Collarbones?
Collarbones. That's why his shoulders can touch almost.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bell-shaped sternum a little bit, and then it affected his facial skull and teeth development. So that's why he doesn't have front teeth in the first season. Right, and that's why he's so.
I just every 2 seconds check out these pearls.
Yeah, that's why he's so proud of his teeth in the second season. It's so great. And then his facial features. His is a little milder than most, so it hasn't really affected him. The people who are born with cleidocranial dysplasia are typically a little shorter than average, things like that. So I think his is like a little milder maybe than what has been seen, than most cases that have been seen, but it has affected him, and they of course pick on him in the first season, and he's got teeth the second season, so he's really excited, and he keeps growling at people, and it kind of creeps him out, and
just don't do that.
Don't do that. And then Lucas tells him not to do that. And then Steve, before the dance, Steve's like, "No, don't do that." But so I'm a big fan of this kid because a lot of people would have let this disorder, I guess you could say. I don't want to say disease. It's not a disease; it's a disorder. Keep him down. But this kid, man, he is a phenomenal actor. Mm-hmm. And he's really having his time to shine in this show, and so knowing that he had this genetic disorder, they cast him, and they wrote it into the script, and I think that's fantastic, and that he's not letting things hold him down. Not that he should, not that it's something that should have happened, but being I think he's 14 or 15 years old. Being a younger kid, that could have, that could really affect him. How he views himself, and how, things like this could affect his career. Mm-hmm. I guess you could say. So, but anyway, Max, Lucas, and Dustin. So the Lucas and Dustin are fighting for Max's affection, and so Lucas takes the smart route and is just talking to her and getting to know her, and Dustin takes advice from Steve, who is effectively losing Nancy at this point, and he tells her, "Yeah, just act like you don't care." And he's like, "Oh, act like I don't care." So Dustin, the character, takes it to the nth level. And it doesn't act like he doesn't care, but just acts like he doesn't like her at all. Like, you know what? Just get out of here. So we kind of see that come out when they're hunting D'Artagnan, the demogorgon that he discovers, that he adopts, I guess you could say. And so when they're in the bus, he's like, "Nah, screw you. If you don't like it, get out of here." So, and then one more new connection that we have is Joyce and Bob.
Oh yeah.
So Bob is Sean Astin, and he is Joyce's new boyfriend, and he is the biggest dork that you've ever seen in your life. And I love it because he reminds me of me. He just, he can't believe that he's dating Joyce Byers. I guess she was the heartthrob, or the girl that everybody wanted back in high school. They all went to Hawkins. He is the manager of the local Radio Shack, and he is a technology nerd. So
Radio Shack.
Yep. Because back then that was the epitome of technology. Now they're no longer a store. But he is actually it came out that that Bob was the founding member of the Hawkins AV Club, which is, the boys are all, the boys are all a member of. When they were remembering Bob in one of the last episodes, they tell, they say, "Hey, did you know that Bob actually is a founding, he created the Hawkins AV Club."
That's so cool.
I thought it was really cool. It was a cool little, shout out to Bob and his character there. So we have, like I said, Bob. So let me ask you a question here, Jesse.
Yeah.
When Bob was first revealed, what'd you think of him?
Yes. Well, okay. Why does the Duffer Brothers have this hold over me where I go, yeah, I know what you're doing there. And then they turn around and they again pull the rug out from under me. Or, they make me realize that my suspicions were totally, there was no reason to have these suspicions in the first place. Come on, what are you thinking? Okay, so yes, when Bob was first revealed, my instinct and gut feeling was, "Oh, Joyce, you have been duped."
Right.
But what do you know? It was me who was duped. Yeah, I seriously thought this guy was a government agent placed at her side to pretend that he loved her in order to watch Will.
Right.
And I, really, I mean, that's the thing about this series. You can go anywhere you want. That mystique, that you mentioned X-Files earlier. There's that government cover-up feel to it, and like, oh, don't trust that person. Do not trust that guy. Certainly don't trust
anybody.
Bob. Okay, this guy is that unassuming, and he's got a shot at Joyce, and you're just like, okay, well, but yeah, that was my first thoughts, man. Was this guy is an agent? He's smart, and he's there to watch Will. And way to go, Duffer Brothers. Got me again.
Well, when I first saw Bob and when I saw Sean Astin, I was like, everybody loves Sean Astin. If you know him, everybody loves him.
Last time I actually saw Sean Astin hanging out in front of a hotel at Cincinnati Comic-Con. Dude, I walked by him and then I looked over. Golden Age Dave was with me. He was at obviously the con that was across the street and signing and doing all sorts of stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Well, we walk, the streets are packed because a Bengals game just ended. Nobody's going anywhere in their cars. So everybody's just walking, and I walk by the hotel and I see this guy on his cell phone right out of the corner of my eye. And then I turn and look and I'm like, that's Samwise Gamgee. What is that? And then and I look over at Dave. I'm like, dude, we just walked by Sean Astin. He was standing right by us. We could have reached out and touched him. But yeah, anyway, that just a neat little story there. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. No, when I first met, when I was first introduced to Bob, I was like, all right, two things. One of two things is going to happen here. Either he's going to be a government agent and break everyone's heart because he's such a lovable character, or he's going to die. And I was like, and I felt guilty by thinking that. Either way, well, I definitely felt guilty for thinking he was evil Bob after we
watch what happens.
We watch what happens, I was like, oh, I feel so bad now. But it was one of those things where I was like, he actually makes Joyce happy. There's got, I hate to be like that, but I'm just like you. The Duffer Brothers, have got my guard up.
Yeah.
Like, if he makes her happy, something has to be amiss.
Yes.
Something's got to be wrong.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to think. I don't know what to think about this guy. So one of the parts that had me thinking that he was going to be Evil Bob was when he was giving his advice to Will.
Yes.
And then Will was telling him about his dream.
Yep.
And he's like, you got to, you can't be afraid all the time. He said, when you're having this dream, he's telling him about the clown thing, Mr. Balto. When I dreamt about Mr. Balto, I just turned around and said, no, go away. And he's like, and then he said, go, he looked at him I looked at him in his stupid face. And I said, go away. And then he yells, go away. I'm like, whoa, that's a little much there, Bob. What's there's something dark hiding in you,
Yeah.
And but it turns out that Bob is nothing but a good soul and a hero. And they were talking about Sean Astin being, the 80s kid that he is, being in the Goonies and things like that. Sean Astin sent in an audition tape, and they were going through these tapes for Bob, and they looked, or going through these audition tapes, not just specifically for Bob. They looked at him and they said, oh my gosh, that's Samwise Gamgee. That everybody has that has that that reaction. Oh my gosh, that's Samwise. And so they initially cast him as Bob, and I think they said that his one thing was he goes, I don't care if Bob is in 3 episodes or 5 seasons. Please make Bob do something heroic. And they were like, they finally said, okay, Bob's got to be your hero. So obviously at the end of, this season, Bob is helping Joyce and Hopper and Mike get Will out of the hospital, while all of these demodogs are running around. There's more than one Demogorgon. They call them Demodogs now. They're essentially being hunted, and so Bob goes and resets the locks, and he has a gun. Hopper gives him a pistol, and Bob leaves a pistol on the table and goes goes back, and he is Dr. Owens. This is why I said Dr. Owens is not a bad guy, because he led Bob through the whole thing and kept him safe from the Demogorgon. And then all of a sudden he gets out, and the entire time that my family is watching this, my family they're watching this, and I've already my sister and my mother are both texting me at the same time from the same room, going, "Is Bob going to die? What's going to happen to Bob?" And my sister is in all caps. They're going to see him die on the television. They're watching the security cameras, and they're going to see him die on the security feed, aren't they? They're going to see him die. They're going to see him die. And I said, I can tell you they will not see him die on the security feed, because he makes it all the way out. He outruns a Demogorgon, slams the door in the face, turns around, meets eye to eye with poor Joyce, gives a smile, and is attacked, killed, and eaten in front of Joyce.
Gosh.
Joyce has essentially lost her son, thought her son was dead in the first season, got her son back, finds out that an extra-dimensional being that is nothing but pure evil has possessed her son.
Oh.
So this is all happening, and then she watches her boyfriend die a horrible, awful death in front of her eyes. What else can this woman needs to be in the loony bin by now?
Let me tell you,
she's gone through all this stuff.
How upset my son was
that Bob died.
I mean, it's It is easily going to be. As a matter of fact, I just looked at there is off of whatculture.com, and there's the top 10 best moments of season 2 of Stranger Things. Number 1 is Bob. Yeah, Bob meets the demogorgons or demodogs. And I mean, my son was really, really jumped up, sat with his mom, and was watching this and just now here's the thing. Colton would come in, and Colton had a great shot for that one too. He sat down. My 3-year-old, soon to be 4-year-old, got to watch one of the most horrible moments of the season. and he's invested. He's like, "Oh no, what's going on?" Yeah, it was bad, and I mean, it was heart-wrenching. And of course, my daughter walks in when we started that episode, and she just looks over at Mindy, and she looks at her and says, "This is a tearjerker." We're like, no.
Yeah. Oh, she ruined it?
Well, she didn't say anything about who was going to die. She just said it's going to be a tearjerker. That's the only thing she said. So we didn't know what was going to happen. We had at the same moment, Will was in trouble. We had all sorts of crazy stuff that was going on in that episode. So we didn't know. But then as soon as things started getting, we're 15 minutes away from a dead Bob, you're kind of guessing what's going to happen. You could tell, oh man, Bob, don't go out there. Don't go out there, Bob. And then, yep. So it was heart-wrenching, man. Probably one of the toughest moments how many episodes are we talking here? There were 9 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You were invested so much in a character that in 8 episodes. And how many minutes did Bob take up the screen?
A lot more than he was originally supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, he took up a decent amount, but I mean, the way that they wrote this character, the way that this character was on screen, had you by the heart.
Yeah.
And then ripped it from you. Ripped the heart right out of you. You watch him die. It was crazy. So, but yeah, I mean, tough moment. One of the best characters of the whole season. And
yeah. So, all right.
Should we message Adam and bring him back? Are we done spoiling things? Okay.
Hold on. Let me. I'm messaging him right now. I'm bringing him back. Here comes Adam.
Okay, Adam. I'm killing time looking at. There is an auction tomorrow, and there is a Marvel Power record.
Oh, nice.
In the action, or in the auction. Have you ever heard of Marvel Power Records?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that where they kind of read it to you, or?
Yeah. It was kind of like a comic, but it had a record in it, and you put the record on and read the comic along with the record. So you don't see those around too often. I was just on YouTube checking to see if they had a bunch of the. I'm sure they could play them for you. That looks like there is. I might go to the auction and get this. Anyway, go ahead.
Adam, are you back? Adam
Runyon.
I thought I heard him come back. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. All right. So we're not going to.
Here I am sitting here talking
too much more.
On moot.
Moot. We're not going to ruin too much more for you here. But what we're going to do is there's been a little controversy about this season. Not much, because like I was looking at, I'm a big sucker for going on IMDb and seeing things what people have been rating, things that I like essentially. So we go through this whole thing. Episode 1 was rated like an 8.6. Episode 9 was really rated like a 9.6. There is one episode, episode 7, that is rated 6.5. Because it's that one off episode that everybody is like, why is this even in here? So this is not really giving anything away. It's giving that episode away, but it's honestly, I hate to say this, you could essentially skip that episode.
This is in season 2.
Season 2, and not really have anything to worry about. So it's not really giving anything away. So episode 7, we find that that 11 has made her way out of Hawkins to find her mother. And so she's, to find out, what's happened to her mom or anything like that. So she finds her way into Chicago. And when she's in Chicago, she runs across this group of 80s, stereotypical 80s punks. So you've got these kids that are running from the law. You probably saw, I think, were they in episode 1? Did they open up the series? Yeah, they opened up the series. Yeah.
Wait a second. When are we coming back to these guys?
Yeah,
you're talking about the dude with like the mullet and the girl.
Yeah. No.
We're talking about the very beginning of episode 1, where it opens up with a police chase.
Where she makes.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 11 finds them and essentially finds out that the girl who made the cops think that they saw the bridge collapsing is number 8. She has the number 8 tattooed on her arm. So she looks at her and says, "Sister." And so they kind of have this whole sister moment thing going on. And then it's her story with this group of weirdos. So what'd you send me here, Jesse?
Oh, this is a graph of the IMDb ratings there. Pulled this off of TV Time app. And yeah, look at season 2. I mean, this episode that you're about ready to talk about is like, I mean, wow. It dropped
hard,
big time. I don't understand why.
What was the reasoning for the drop?
It didn't really fit in.
Okay, most of the season episodes that you're used to, it's revolving around the kids and Will and his troubles, and
they don't really leave the town. And
this is fair. This is pretty much not 11's backstory, but 11 trying to find
who she is.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's kind of what
find out. Who she is and why she is.
Right. And where she should fit in, because
right.
She doesn't feel that. I assume that she's going to feel more at ease with somebody that she grew up with in the same facility that has maybe the same powers or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's kind of what they did here. And why it got crapped on, I don't know.
Well, I can kind of see it almost because it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the the average schmo that watches this wants easy stuff. You know what I mean? They want everything to fit into their nice little mold of I want it all the same. I don't want to have to think. I don't want to have to wonder why. And the reason is because the reason I say that is because it's the truth. A lot of people nowadays watch TV. Well, everybody watches TV as an escape, and they don't want to have to think about why this is happening. Why 11 is essentially going out and seeking these new people. Or not seeking them, but why 11 is now helping people rob banks and stores, and but she doesn't really help them rob a bank or anything. But that's what they did was they robbed a bank in the beginning, and now they're essentially killing everybody that had anything to do with wronging each person in their past. The only person that came from the facility was number 8, and I can't. Oh my gosh, what is her name? In the show, I think it's
the Ocho.
Callie, Callie, or I think it's Callie. And the Ocho. Shut up. So yeah, Callie, and she was raised and abused by Papa. Not abused, but she was used by these people essentially abused too, because they tortured these poor girls for their abilities, and so she has banded herself together with these misfits who have felt wronged in their entire life. So they're essentially going around killing everybody they feel that has wronged them. So 11 teams up with him, and Callie teaches her how to focus her anger and to be more powerful. So 11 goes from just basically moving whatever you're making. Stop.
How can you hear that?
I don't know.
I have you Vulcan hearing or something? Jeez.
No, it's right next to the microphone.
No,
it's like microphone.
It's like 4 feet away, man. All
right, enough.
I'm stirring something at arm's length.
Anyway, so she basically becomes 11's Yoda. She teaches her how to focus her anger into being, her telekinetic power to make it more powerful. So she goes from, just basically, she can snap a guy's neck and everything. She's pretty powerful, but she moves an entire train car by herself with her mind, which is pretty incredible. So she's, she's teaching her how to, to focus this anger into that. So did it need to be a whole episode? Jesse, we'll start with you. Does this story about these people that have nothing to do with Hawkins, did it need to be a whole episode?
Well, let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here, okay? All right. We got introduced to a potentially powerful, quote-unquote, sister of 11's, her situation, and the people that she hangs out with, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There is going to be a season 3.
Mm-hmm.
These people could come to Hawkins. I mean,
in search of 11.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple reasons why the Duffer Brothers could come in here and say this episode is important, and this is why. Now, I don't know. I haven't read anything online about their reaction, or if there even a reaction as to, why this episode is so unpopular. I understand it's definitely out of the ordinary, what we're used to, but I mean, give the guys some credit.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't horrible. It was still
no, not at all. It's one of those things they wanted to prove, or not prove, but they wanted to. They're challenging themselves by doing different things.
Yeah, and they're putting this. Jason goes to Manhattan, 11 goes to Chicago.
Right. Absolutely. That's incredible. I love it.
There
That's
you go.
True.
There's no sense in not having another 80s tribute than sending our most powerful character into the city.
Exactly. That's perfect. I love it. That's absolutely perfect. So, but it's one of those things where it's a journey for 11 to find her power, or to harness her power, and to be able to learn to do more with it. Yeah. So, and the Duffer Brothers did something different. Get off their backs. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, unless there's really, and I'm not the biggest film critic, but unless somebody's really picking this thing apart because there was bad acting, which I didn't think there was.
No.
I mean, if it's just all because it's plot driven and it's outside of what happens in Hawkins, I mean, it's not that.
Poo-poo on you.
Right.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You trust me. There's 8 other episodes that you're going to love.
Right. Absolutely.
On a side note, by the way, Jesse, did your wife watch This Is Us? Does anybody in your family watch This Is Us?
No.
Why are we bringing this up?
Wait.
I say that.
I shouldn't say that because I think she does. Okay. This is one of those shows where I am definitely out of the room because, number one, I know there's probably going to be crying involved.
There's always crying.
Me too. But I bring this up because while you guys were talking about all the spoilers and stuff, I was rewatching the first episode. There's a guy on there. His name's Benny something. The guy who owns the guy who owns like that diner where they find 11. He is like he's one of the main characters in This Is Us.
Oh, I didn't know
no
that.
idea. I didn't either. I had to look it up, and I was like,
That's
holy
him.
cow. Yeah, I was like, holy cow. I was like, man. So now I have like a complete. I have an end for any women or any wives who don't want to watch Stranger Things. Like, dude, it's got the guy from This Is Us in it. He dies pretty early on, but you know.
Do they have to know that he gets
his neck broken or something?
Silence 9mm,
yeah,
to the head? No, they don't need to know that.
No, not at all. But yeah, I was on and I was like, dang, that looks familiar. So I sent my wife a message and I was like, is this the same guy? And she was like, looks like him. And I was like, well, because I think she was actually watching that show. But anyway, yeah.
So season 2 has not failed me at all. It is. I think it's just as good as the first one. It's definitely on a bigger scale, much bigger scale than the first one. So the Demogorgon, we find out, we all know by the posters and the trailers and everything that the Demogorgon is not the main villain anymore. It is Cthulhu.
Whatever the heck that thing is.
Whatever the heck that is. They call it in the series, they call it the Monflayer.
Oh, yeah.
Another D&D.
That's awesome. And, that's so freaking cool.
Yeah, so it's really funny because they're trying to figure out what this thing is and why it wants Will and why it wants to destroy everyone and everything. And so immediately Dustin says, "Hey, I've got an idea. Let's go look at my D&D guide." And this is what it's called. It's the Monflayer. And Hopper's like, "Yeah, we'll look at it. We'll look at this. Why is it? Wait a minute. This is a kid's game. Why are we looking at this? This is not real." So it was, it's just one of those moments that really brought it all back. Brought it all together for me because this show is just incredible. Adam, do you have any questions that you may want to ask us that we can try to answer spoiler free?
No, I mean, I just got to get through the. I just got to get through. Right there. No. I mean, have we talked about the two things I really want to talk about? The first one is Steve's hair. Have we talked about how luscious it is?
We haven't talked about Steve's hair, but
oh my goodness,
you can't talk about Steve's hair without talking about Billy's hair this season.
Oh yeah, because Billy. Yeah, well, but anyway,
Billy's rocking the mullet.
I know, right? But like, there was another question that I was going to ask about, but I don't remember. Dragon's Lair. So, do you guys believe any of that? Do you guys believe that they got as far as they did in Dragon's Lair?
No, here's the thing. I don't remember that game very. The last time I played
because you didn't get that far in it. That's
now,
why.
Hold on. Last time I played Dragon's Lair was 1990. I want to say 97 at my good friend Jason's house. He had his birthday party and he had Dragon's Lair on, I think it was Sega CD. And I played the crap out of it that night because you didn't get a chance to play it in the arcade unless you owned it for Sega CD years later.
Right.
And the Sega CD was if I remember correctly, it was the arcade game. But anyway, I played and I played and played. And then I remember getting very far and thinking to myself, how much money
would I've spent? Yeah.
There's no way unless you bring a lot of money, which that's funny because at the beginning of that episode, he's raiding,
he's scrounging for quarters,
scrounging for cash. But yes, I don't think you could legitimately get that far without having free play on at the arcade.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, I haven't played that game. I didn't play that game until I was probably probably the last few years because I would always put a quarter in. And, like, the beginning, there's actually two versions of the game. The first one is the one where, like, you've got to, like, time your button presses. You know what I mean? Like, when you're walking across,
you got to hit
bridge,
it just right.
Right. That's where I always died. The very, very beginning. I never got past the very beginning until I actually own the game now. And I can play it, pretty far. But like you, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way because like the hand-eye coordination of a 13-year-old kid is not
way
that
better than
good.
ours.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know. But I was like when I first saw it, I was like I've seen that death screen quite often. I know what happens there.
Oh yeah, the old turn to bones.
Right. But they brought up this whole thing about this good-looking like cartoon chick in it. Never saw her. I never saw her.
They brought up an interesting correlation between her and Max.
Max.
Because Dustin is kind of like the guy in Dragon's Lair. He's going through all these hoops and everything just to get to the fair maiden.
The right time.
Yeah, and he pretty much screws it all up.
Like we all have.
Like I constantly do. What? But anyway,
what?
So
this is weird.
It's got awkward. So Stranger Things, we see new characters, we see familiar faces, we experience heartbreak, we experience that awe moment of it's so cute, terror, the whole nine. I mean, it's just everything that you could want in a show. In my opinion, Stranger Things has it. And the production values, as Jesse said, on this season have skyrocketed. And like I said, they're putting that season 1 money to use. And it's just one of those shows that I can watch over and over and over. And as I said, I immediately, as soon as I was done the night, I watched episode 9 of season 2, and I started season 1 again the next night. Can't help it. Wanted to see it, and just to experience it all over again. And I love that show. Jesse, you got any closing thoughts for us?
Nah, I mean, look, if you're a fan of the 80s, if you're a fan of suspense and horror, and you watch season 1, there's no reason not to watch season 2. I mean, really, I may say that season 1 for some reason struck a tone that was better for me, but that is not saying that season 2 is any worse. As a matter of fact, I was taking a poll, one of the apps that I do, where they asked, okay, is season 2 worse, better, or just as good as season 1? And I didn't want to pick worse because that really had this huge negative connotation, in my opinion. But it just didn't reach that peak that the season 1 had for me. I don't know if it's because it's just because there wasn't that much mystique. That season one had you going, okay, where is this going to go? How far are we going to get into the craziness? And they took you there on a journey that was fun to get to. Now, when we hit season 2, we know all about the upside down and what's out. I wouldn't say not everything that's out there, but we knew the limits and how far they would take us. And it doesn't get much crazier than, this extra dimensional, the upside down, and we got stuff coming in. Doesn't get a whole lot crazier than that. What are you in store for? Well, now. It's going to probably most likely be something insane with the upside down happening to the earth. You didn't know that with season 1. At least I didn't. You went into that cold. You had no clue what you were getting into. Now you do. And that's it took that a little bit away from me. And I don't know if there's a way for season 2 to even be better than season 1 ever. I don't know if you could rewrite it in any way and make it better than season 1. But again, season 2 has a lot of great stuff. Ronnie, you said it's perfect, and that's I think you enjoy it stuff just like I do. You enjoy a lot of the same things that I do. So as much as there's not a whole lot to pick apart here. We can't say this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. You just heard us go on and on for about half an hour, 45 minutes, how good this show was. But that's my little caveat is just be ready, because there may feel like there's something missing from season 1 that's not in season 2. And I think a lot of it is just that mystique that season 1 had. And that's not downplaying in any way. It's just letting you know that's where I sit. However, go out and watch it.
Okay. Adam, do you have any give us your number one theory of what's going to happen in season 2?
Well, I kind of heard some things that I shouldn't have.
Oh, Adam.
So,
theory. What's your theory?
My theory is solely based on that what you call it? That episode. Sorry, I'm having a mind fart. That episode that you guys were talking about, how it just made no sense. Like the Duffer Brothers don't do anything. I don't think they do anything on accident. So it's like, what I'm thinking they're going to do is that episode is in there to set up the next season. So what you're going to see is the true power in this season, I think. And this is just me. And I know you guys have seen it. You can tell me if I'm full of crap or not. But I think you're going to see the true power of what 11 can do. And you're going to see, and I saw the first episode where she's living with Hopper, and everybody's going to be pissed because they've been looking for her, and they get on the walkie talkie every day, and they're like, 11, where are you, blah blah blah. They're going to find out that he's been keeping her. They're going to get all pissed off because they're going to be like, how could you do this? There's going to be lots of drama, but you're going to see the true power of 11, and you're going to see the true power of their friendship. You're going to see how everybody kind of comes together, and you're going to see the douche canoe guy who shows up. Because I saw your picture that I had to mute on Facebook, by the way, Jesse. I was like, I don't want to see any of this, so I muted it. But anyway, the picture where you said I hate this guy or whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry, that jerk. Yes.
Yes,
sorry
that was. Yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. So anyway, what I think you're going to see is the friendship and everything, and the whole relationship between everybody there, and you're going to see it just times 1,000, because that's what this is. This is season 1 with way more money added to it. So yeah, you might be missing that whole like, oh, this is really cool going into season 2, knowing what's going to happen or knowing what it's going to be like. Nothing's going to be a surprise, So I don't know. My theory is you're just going to see, what 11's capable of doing. And then you're going to see on into season 3 the background of 11 and the whole Russian experiments or whatever the government decided they wanted to do that stuff. But I've not made it past episode 1 yet, so forgive me if I got it wrong.
No, I think you're doing pretty good there. I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong.
That's fine. I don't expect you
to. So I just want you to watch it.
I'm going to actually this weekend. Funny story. I watched episode 1, and my wife Becky, she watched it with me. She's asking all these questions, like literally. I was like, Becky,
you told us the story.
Quit. Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if I told you that or not. But anyway, I had to go back.
Literally,
to
you told us that story this episode of this podcast.
Well, I didn't know if it was. I didn't know if it was on the episode.
He'd been away from the podcast so much. He made the second one.
It's like Gandalf the White.
The second podcast tonight.
Like Gandalf the White shows up. He's like, "Oh yeah,
I
remember that name."
I want to tell you that I apologize for bringing you back and to make you go away.
It's fine.
But
it's fine.
You have one whole week to get ready for our next subject. Because we will be back next week with we're going to take a look at. We're going to go back to the 80s again a little bit with the feel and the overall flavor of our next week's subject, which is Thor Ragnarok. So you have a whole week to take a look at that. I saw it last night, and it is amazing. So funny,
even with Thor's hair cut off.
Oh my gosh! If I hear about his hair one more time, I'm going to scream.
I know. I heard. That's all I hear is like, "It's not Thor. That's Chris Hemsworth in a costume." I'm like, well, technically, it's Chris Hemsworth in a costume
And
all
here
the time.
I am pushing up my glasses with the tape in the middle, going. Actually, technically, if you read, he's Thor Odin's son in the new comics, and he has short hair, so he doesn't have his hammer in this.
I freaking love it.
So technically, it is correct if you're going by the source material. Speaking of source material,
hey,
that's a segue and a half.
Jesse.
Yeah. All right. Am I doing plugs now?
You're doing a plug.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jesse Starcher. You can go check out a comic book show that I do with the good, our good host here tonight, Ronnie Adams.
Yes.
That is called Source Material, and it is on the Radulich in Broadcasting Network. So if you're interested, go check that out. We have close to 140 episodes, just shy. We're working on it. We're getting there.
Rub it in.
Coming up here, we already dropped Planet Hulk. So that has already dropped. So speaking of Thor, if you want to kind of get a primer of what you're going to get to see in Thor Ragnarok, maybe check out Planet Hulk because they borrow some elements from that book and put it in that movie. Also coming up this Monday.
Technically, Jesse. No,
Actually. On the, what is this? This is, now see, I can't bring up my calendar. Hold on a second. This Monday is
all right, Mark Radulich Jr.
Oh, boy. I done broke something. What was that noise?
It was my heart breaking. And no,
it's the 6th. The 6th of November. You can go in there and check out me and Mark Radulich tell you about Thor Disassembled, which is Ragnarok happening all over Asgard for the period of time in 2004, and it's a really good story.
It
really is. It was a quick podcast. You're probably looking at maybe about 45 minutes at the most. Get in there and check that out because, again, if it wasn't for the fact that I read that, I may not have understood a whole lot of what was going on there in the actual movie. So I'm plugging and I'm saying, hey, check out my podcast because they might prime you for some stuff that you're getting ready to go check out. Other than that, that's it. You can follow me at Stiznarkey on Twitter if you wish to do so. My show is at SourceMacCast on Twitter. Don't do a whole lot on there, but when I do, you check it out. I usually share the episodes, so you can go through all the tweets and check them out that way. Radulich in Broadcasting Network on blogtalkradio.com. That way you can find, just type in Radulich, you can find everything that happens on our network. I turn it back over to you, Ronnie Adams.
Adam.
Yo.
You do this every time. Tell us what's going on with you.
Well, I can't say every time because the last time I was here, I forgot what I did. So, but anyway, no, you can find me on Twitter at Adam's Nerd. I'm on Facebook, and our website's doing something funky, but we'll have that up. I don't know when, but But that's it.
Our website is not doing something funky. It's just down.
Well, yeah. I was trying to minimize it, so but
No, I'm not. I won't.
It ain't there.
Yeah, it's not there. So, all right. You can follow the show on any social media possible. You can go to Facebook, look up Screaming Boy Podcast. You can go to Twitter and see Screaming Boy PR at Screaming Boy PR. On Instagram, the Insta, we are Screaming Boy Podcast. We have a Snapchat, but I don't really use it. So, because I always say this, but I really think so. I kind of think it's the devil. I'm not going to lie. But we have it, and I think it's Screaming Boy PR as well. So look us up on any social media. Please get in touch with us. We want to know your thoughts, your dreams, your hopes, your desires. We want to know what you think. And we actually just want you to say hi too. So give us a like on Facebook. search us out on if you're listening to this on iTunes, you can go ahead and give us a 5-star rating. We would appreciate that. Anything else, just give us a like, click the 5 stars. We really yearn and long for your acceptance and love. So with that, I'm going to say, for Jesse Starcher, Adam Runyon, I'm Ronnie Adams. Have a good evening, and we'll catch you next time. We're out. We'll be out once I find the end button.
Hit the space bar. No, it's the space bar. Hit the space bar.
Where is it?